Mr. Binkley, thank you for speaking with me again. Thank you for coming back to Texas. You know, we love you here. So
it's good to be home.
You've been on the campaign trail. Your message has been unity, to unify the country. What is your plan to unify the country?
Well, first of all, remind all of America that our freedoms, our Constitution, our very essence of being a country is always in jeopardy if we stay divided. And right now, the consequences of our current path is not good unless we begin to come together, recognize we're all Americans. We have differences of opinions, but we have to start focusing on issues that aren't just partisan, not Republican or Democrat, but are American, focusing on those. I'm Republican. I want to lead them in a financially prudent way, in a way that gives independence and freedom to Americans, but I have to lead recognizing, respecting independents and Democrats along the way so we can coalesce and get some things accomplished legislatively.
Now, you said you want to unify with the urban youth and with the youth in general. What are some of your thoughts that would unify those people?
You know, what I want to do is bring hope to urban America, and bring a job movement and a work movement. Also just invigorate the whole education system. Education in America is broken right now. I mean, we're not even in the top 20 in education anymore in America. We used to be in top 1, 2, or 3 when I was growing up. It's time for us to really see what's broken and I think put parents back in charge, get them back involved again in kids' education. So school choice would be really important. But more importantly, start a volunteer movement, giving some kids some mentors on how to grow in their walk in education. Right now a lot of kids are struggling just in the basics, reading, writing, math, science. How can we help engage them? So I'm thinking of a volunteer movement. I'm calling it SAVE, Serving and Volunteering in Education. I want to start a movement like the Peace Corps was in the 60s and 70s of college students all over, by the hundreds of thousands, diving into every school in our neighborhood and our cities that are struggling and just helping them read, write, get their reading levels up so they can be prepared for college. Or if they want to begin their own career and go into vocational trade, then they can start, in our track of entrepreneurship.
And let me ask you, with the economy in the state that it is today, how would you get the country back on track economically?
Wow. So, I have to communicate to the country not just what the problem is, but the source of the problem. I mean, everybody knows what the problem is. The problem is inflation's out of control. So, $700 a month more in every average household is going out the door to rent and to gas and to fuel and to food right now than was just a year and a half ago. So everybody's feeling it. You don't have to be an expert to know what the problem is, but I got to tell them why so they can hold presidential candidates and legislators, senators, congressmen, and women about what to do. So a big problem is our debt. The big problem is because we're spending more than we're bringing in. We run a deficit of about $1.5 trillion, $2 trillion a year. We can't keep doing that. I'm leading a movement to bring economic, recovery to our nation again. So we just launched a 7-year economic rescue plan that balances the budget in 7 years. I would say this rescues us from inflation, rescues us from the proliferation of the U.S. dollar to be like monopoly money, and actually, rescues Social Security as well, because all these things that we want to have, they're getting depleted right now. So right now, even today, I'm 55. In 10 years, I'm only going to get 78 cents on the dollar, Social Security. So we've got to rescue it now and help it continue.
I mean, gas prices are through the roof. What is your plan, or do you have a plan to help combat oil prices?
Yeah, so it's all part of the whole balanced budget plan, because once we start balancing the budget, inflation is going to come down across the board. But specifically with gas, as we show wisdom across the board, it will come down. But we need to be energy independent. We need to advance that Keystone Pipeline that we got rid of years ago. We need to get that going again. We need to be able to have more resources and more fuel and more exploration happening. We need to be energy independent. Using all of that, when we are, they'll come down.
Now, the United States has been more divided than it's ever been. Certainly in my lifetime, I've never seen America so divided. Your message is unity. Racial tension is high in America, it seems, between black and white people. What are some of the ways that we can bridge that gap, you can bridge that gap between the two communities?
One of my main messages that I have is recognizing that we're all, not only just all Americans. I'm a Christian. So as a Christian, whether you're a Christian or not, or no matter what your faith is, I believe we all come from the same Father. Meaning I think we all come from God. So if that's the case, then I believe this, we're all brothers and sisters. Now, we all may think differently on certain issues, but we're really all one family, regardless of our race, regardless of our political affiliation, regardless of our social issues. We're still one family. Let's treat each other that way. Let's love each other. Jesus never said, hire the government to go take care of your neighborhood, right? He said, you love your neighbor. And then they asked him, who's my neighbor? Well, it's those that are in our neighborhood. It's those that are different than us. It's those that are walking down the road that need help. And so my message is just kind of start connecting to people, start listening to each other. I mean, the best thing we can do is sit down and say, hey, what are the issues you're facing today? Start listening, connecting hearts, spending time together, and seeing how we can help each other.
And working with Democrats across the aisle.
Have to if you want to accomplish anything big. If you want to stay in our echo chambers and just do very small things, then you might be able to get something if by chance you get the House and the Senate, but that hardly ever happens. And you're going to need a majority of the House to do some big things like immigration reform or the border security unless we do it together. So I'm recommending we have to. There's no way you can sit there and do this alone. But that means we've got to communicate to America what the real issues are, like our immigration plan. We just launched the Security and Dignity Act. We want to have border security from California to Texas at the southern border. By the way, we need it on the northern border as well, but at the same time, we've got drugs coming in. We have cartels that are sending fentanyl, killing 200 to 300 young people a day. We have to communicate to Americans what the problem is, and then let's work together on it. I mean, there's no reason we shouldn't work together to solve our big issues.
And when it comes to the church and state are usually separate. But you being an outspoken Christian, and Christianity has been under attack as of late, how can you as a Christian and as maybe future president of the United States bridge that gap when it comes to church and state?
Absolutely. First of all, got to communicate and remind everyone that language, separation of church and state, is nowhere in the Constitution. So that's some language that came out 50 years later because they didn't want to have a state religion, meaning they came from, the United Kingdom, where at that time there was a religious that was a state religion. They didn't want that. They wanted us to be able to go to whatever church or not go to church if we wanted to, or worship any way we wanted. So we have a freedom of religion, but we do have a constitutional right of religion and a constitutional right to share that faith. So my religion is, I'm a Christian, but that doesn't mean I don't respect everybody else's faith. It doesn't mean I'm trying to get everybody to be a Christian. What it means is I'm trying to just share who I am, and I want to demonstrate it more. And his main message was to love God and love each other. So I think we could all agree that we need to love each other more, regardless of what our faith is. So that's what I'm going to share.
Second Amendment, sir. The Second Amendment has been under fire under this administration, especially with the ATF making new rulings and what the Biden administration is currently wanting to do. What are your thoughts on the Second Amendment as it pertains to what people are doing or what this current administration is trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely need to curtail the ATF from just too many overbearing policies. I was visiting with the gun shop in Iowa just this past week. We were talking about some of the regulations, and it's amazing that if they have a rifle, or if they have a gun and a handle is in one position versus another position, all of a sudden it's a felony to have that weapon. That really doesn't change the weapon at all, meaning they're getting too much involved. I mean, regulation needs to be there to protect people, protect freedoms, but it doesn't need to be overly regulated. That's where we've hit right now, so we need to pull it back.
Would you support more education programs for firearm, more firearm education?
Sure. I mean, absolutely. I think the more education we have, the more safety, the more practice, more things in how we're educating people to care for, weapons today. We need to.
And I guess my last question for you, sir, is give the people the message of what's your message that you want to send out to the American people on why you're running for president?
Yeah. The main message that I'm sharing with America is that we're in trouble. We need an economic resurgence here. We need a revival because we're on a bad track record of spending too much money, too much inflation. We're setting our children up for likely the weakest economic foundation since the Great Depression. And then culturally, we're broken. We're not solving big issues like healthcare reform, and healthcare inflation is 40% higher than regular inflation for 20 years. We're not doing anything about it. We need to solve our border. We need to resolve education issues, urban America things, get people working again, teaching them trades and jobs. Teenagers in urban America, hey, you don't have to go to college to have a great career. We need to show them entrepreneurship, show them how to be a craftsman, show them how to be a mason, show them how to be an electrician, plumber, computer technology, medical assistant work. There's a lot of different things you can do. Entrepreneurship. There's so many paths to be a success. We need to invigorate that so people have vision. And that's why I'm going to lead. It's a new day for our country. We can't keep doing the same old things. And so that's when I want to lead as president. I'm going to lead our country to unify, but to trust in each other again. Believe for a better day. I mean, 3 years from now, we're going to celebrate our 250th birthday. That's going to be an amazing day. my prayer is that we'll be able to do this when it's all said and done, be able to say these one words I don't hear enough. I'm proud to be an American, and I want to see that.
Yes, sir. That'll do it.
Thank you, Joshua.
Yeah, thank you.
God bless.